Hello and welcome to Abberley Hall School. Today we're here with our head boy Oscar and our head girl Olivia, Mrs Besley as well. I'm Jonnie Besley, the headmaster of the school, and we're about to be interviewed by these two. So Oscar, I think you're going to go first.
Yeah. So last year was quite challenging for all schools. How did you find it?
Last year was challenging. It was my first experience of being a headmaster, so I arrived at Abberley School with Mrs Besley in September and started being a head for the first time, so it was challenging for that reason.
Yeah.
It was also very challenging because of COVID.
Yeah.
So when I started last September, you had all been away for the whole summer term, hadn't you? So
Yeah.
you'd been in lockdown at home for the summer term, so you all came back for the first time when we started, and it was a very difficult year because we were trying to make things as normal as we could, but at the same time we had to be very careful with COVID. If you remember, we had all sorts of one-way systems and we had bubbles, didn't we? And and then we had, of course, in the spring term we were in lockdown again, so we had online learning once again. And then the summer term felt a little bit more normal, didn't it? But it was still a little bit complicated. So it was a challenging year, and as I said, it was also challenging because we were bringing in a number of changes at Abberley, which I was very grateful for everybody's support, and also very grateful that you children took to all these changes so well and that your parents supported us. And I feel actually that all the changes we brought in were really positive and that they've made a really positive difference. But no, it was an exciting year for both of us and for our children, but it was a challenging year.
It was tricky as well in that we couldn't meet your parents very much, so normally we'd have had people in for plays and concerts and parents evenings, so that was all online, so it was so nice having everyone in the summer term, wasn't it?
When we were doing Beauty and the Beast and the parents go watch, it was just live streamed instead.
Exactly, we had a lot of live streaming, haven't we?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
A lot of filming.
Yeah.
And me filming assemblies
Yeah.
as well. A lot of every Sunday night I'd be filming assemblies for Monday morning, and so I'm pleased that we're not doing that.
Do you remember Mrs. Besley tried to make them different each week? So
Come
on the clock tower or on the ink pot or up a hill or something.
Yeah.
Nice to be back in the Ashton Hall now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr Besley, what changes did you make during your first year at Abberley?
Okay, changes during my first year. So I always thought that I'd spend my first year just getting to know the school and getting to know you, children and the staff, and not really make any changes. But actually we did bring in a number of changes last year. I suppose one of the first things we started doing was looking at the timetable, looking at the curriculum and looking at what lessons we were doing, and we changed that a little bit, we modernised that a little bit in certain areas and just tweaked the timetable. We also, one big change, we stopped doing lessons on a Saturday. So we stopped Saturday lessons, and instead of lessons on a Saturday we started what we call our Discover programme, which, as you know, is a really exciting activities programme where instead of having lessons, the children come in now and they do academic enrichment, so they do things like drama and debating and philosophy and classics and that sort of thing. But they can also do outdoor adventure, so things like pony riding and fishing and kayaking and climbing. They do drama and music, they do art, crafts, ceramics, all sorts of things. And this is part of what we're trying to do, really. We're trying to develop skills for life with you lot, rather than just focusing on exam preparation. And so that was a big change, and that was a really popular thing that we introduced. Another thing we did is we made the boarding a little bit more flexible. So Abberley used to very much be, I mean, you probably know this better than I do, but Abberley used to very much be, we're a boarding school, you know, always accepted day children, but very much we're a boarding school. And although now we still are a boarding school, we're still a great school for boarders, and I know, Oscar, you're a full boarder, but we're also a school for day children, and we're also a school for part-time boarders, flexi boarders, weekly boarders, and so we've made all that a little bit more flexible. So there's some of the big changes. We've also done a lot more work on marketing. We've done we've just tried to make things a little bit more flexible, and I suppose really at the end of the day, what I tried to do last year and will continue to try and do is keep all the lovely things about Abberley that everybody loves, the traditions, the heritage, all the sort of slightly quirky, lovely things about Abberley, but at the same time making sure that it's moving forward and modernising where it needs to modernise. So that's really what I tried to do last year. Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
So, Mrs Besley, What makes Abberley special?
That's a great question. I think it's quite hard to put your finger on it, but I think when you come to Abberley, as we found, and lots of people have told me, there's just something really magical about Abberley. And I guess a lot of that is down to you guys. I think the children are, you're going to get big-headed, but really special and lovely. And we, as you know, I organise the chapel services, and we have people who come back to speak here from other schools. And they say that often Abberley children have gone on to be head girl or head boy. Actually, we've got 2 at the moment, I think, at some senior schools nearby. Because I think you guys turn out just to be really well-rounded, balanced, lovely children. So you guys, I think the staff are incredible. I think there's an awful lot of passion. I think everybody, all the teachers are so kind, aren't they? And they really care about what they do. I think they're brilliant. And obviously our setting is incredible, isn't it? Just waking up in the morning and seeing herds of deer and mist in the valley and pottering down for a walk around the ink pot is very special. So I could go on forever, but lots and lots of things.
What are your plans for Abberley over the next 10 years?
Try and keep the dog off the sofa is one of them. But no, apart from that, I mean, it's a big question, Olivia, a big question. I suppose it would be fair to say that a lot of last year we brought in some changes that I spoke to you about earlier. So I suppose, this year really more than anything is about establishing things, letting things settle down. The changes to the boarding, the Saturday, the curriculum, etc. We want to let all that establish and settle down. So that's important. I think Abberley does so much, doesn't it, as you know, in terms of boarding and activities on the weekends and activities on Saturday mornings and sport and the evening. It's such a busy place that I'm very conscious that we need to make sure we don't lose sight of the central importance of what happens in the classroom. So that's a really important focus for me, to make sure that the teaching is as good as it can possibly be and the learning is as good as it can possibly be. So that's a real focus. I think I'm very keen to make sure we're investing in the school. So we're investing in the wonderful facilities we have. We've got amazing grounds and buildings and facilities, but we need to make sure that they stay looking smart and that we're investing in them. We're doing projects at the moment such as we're renovating an old theatre, which used to be an old original Victorian theatre, so we're bringing that back to life. We've had a new astro put in recently. We're going to be doing quite a lot of work up in our boarding house. We've been doing that over the last year. And lots of other exciting projects I won't go into now, but just a lot of painting and decorating and renovating and maintaining the lovely buildings and school we've got. Apart from that, really, I want to grow the school slightly. I want to make sure that the pupil numbers grow slightly. I don't want it to become a really big school, because I think something that makes the school so special is that it's not a massive school. It's got a cosy family feeling where all of the teachers know all of the children really well. So I don't want to change that, but I want to grow the school slightly. And apart from that, really, I want to make sure that with all the modernising and developing we're doing, we still hang on to the essence of Abberley Hall, because it's a fantastic place. It's got an amazing history. People love Abberley Hall, and I don't want to change that. So I want to keep that at its core. But as I said earlier, just around the edges of that, make sure we're modernising and developing where we need to. Okay?
And also, how would you describe our link with Malvern College?
Okay, our link with Malvern College. So the link with Malvern College was established before I got here, back in the summer of 2019, so just over 2 years ago. I've been working closely with Malvern College in my role here as head for a year. I love working with Malvern College. I think it's a fantastic school. Abberley has always sent lots of children to Malvern, is my understanding, over the years. We've always sent big groups of children to Malvern, and that will continue. And we're working ever more closely with Malvern, which gives a fairly small school like Abberley a huge advantage. I won't go into all the reasons why it does, but it gives us a real, being able to work as part of something bigger than Abberley gives it a real advantage. But at the same time, we're all very keen to make sure that we remain Abberley Hall. So we're not Malvern Junior School, we're Abberley Hall, and we still send children to a whole big wide range of different senior schools. So we're not Abberley Hall, we're not Malvern College's junior school. We're still preparing you lot and everyone else for whatever senior school is right for them. Okay, so that's hopefully explain the link a little bit more.
Mrs. Besley, what have been the highlights of your first year at Abberley?
Gosh, there have been so many. I love all the outdoor ed. I've been helping out with that quite a lot. So picking apples from our orchard was a real highlight. I think the outdoor ed's great fun doing all the camping. I actually went on the Wales trip with Year 8s last year, and that was lovely, doing a big long trek through the mountains. Hoping I'll do that again with you this year. That was great. All the plays, we did an outdoor Robin Hood. That was great fun. Chapel services. You're both in chapel choir, aren't you?
Yeah.
I love those, particularly the Advent one we did last Christmas. It was all candlelit and we had the Christmas tree. That was absolutely beautiful. Being in dorms, I love being up in dorms. It's really cosy and fun and just a lovely, lovely place to be. Gosh, so many things. It was lovely meeting parents. It was quite funny in COVID times when we couldn't have parents in. We did the drive-through carols.
Oh yeah.
That was great fun. We had all the
Yeah,
parents
I love
decorating
that.
the cars with the Christmas trees on the roof and
Yeah.
everyone honking their horns along to Jingle Bells. That was a real highlight for me. So it's like, even though it's COVID going on, we can still have fun. I think that's it actually, a lot of fun, like the Harry Potter Yule Ball. We just have a great time, don't we? So I think there've been so many highlights for me.
Yeah, and with the drive-through carol, I remember seeing lots of cars with bits of tinsel tucked in everywhere.
Everyone got very
Yeah.
competitive,
Yeah,
didn't
and
they?
it was great.
Yeah, I think it was so much fun that actually we're going to do it again this year, even though we don't have to, just because it's fun.
Yeah.
But no, I think I've had so many highlights. And actually, when we got parents back in, that was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think one of the highlights for me was when all the children came back at the end of the spring term, if you remember, in March. That was lovely. It was about 2.5 weeks where suddenly everyone was back and loads of people were boarding again, and that was a real highlight for me. I think also the end of the summer term was another real highlight because we were a bit worried about COVID and whether we were going to be able to stay open. But in the end, we had a really full programme, didn't we, with all our sports days and speech days, leaver service and all sorts of trips and amazing end of term things. So that was a real highlight for me.
Yeah.
And there's been an amazing year. I can't believe we're at the beginning of our second year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's been good.
So Mr. Besley, what do you do when you're not at work?
When I'm not at work. So according to Mrs. Besley, I'm at work too much. So that's but when I'm not at work, I love being outside. Really, all sorts of things. I love going on walks with my family and Rollo here, the dog. I love going on bike rides. I love doing things like going fishing when I have a chance, going camping. Sailing is not a new thing. I've always done a bit of sailing, but I'm really getting into sailing more at the moment.
Yeah.
Did quite a lot of sailing in the summer and love doing that. So really being outside.
Mrs. Besley, do you think the school has become more environmentally friendly?
That's a really good question. I think we're actually pretty good at that already. It's lovely, we've got our school garden, haven't we? So we're growing vegetables that eat in the kitchen. That's really quite exciting. We go through lunch and find out it's courgette soup from the gardens or whatever. I think we're good at that, and picking apples that we've turned to apple juice, and you guys make compost, don't you, and all that. So I think we're pretty good at it already, but we do want to be better, and so we've started an eco committee, haven't we? So you're on my eco committee. We've become an eco school, and we've come up with an action plan, haven't we, to try and get even more environmentally friendly. So we're going to be working on our recycling and our energy usage and that sort of thing. So I think actually we're pretty good at that. Yeah.
Switching lights off is a big challenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Switching lights off.
Yes, we do need to get better.
No, we're
at
doing pretty well.
Yeah.
So Mr. Besley, what do you think about the boarding at Abberley?
What do I think about the boarding? A lot nicer than it was when I was at Border, when I was at school. That's for certain. No, I think it's amazing. Actually, I think it's absolutely amazing. As I said earlier, we've introduced a bit more flexibility around the boarding. So we no longer insist that people have full boarding, although a lot of people do full board. And I think boarding is part of the DNA of what Abberley is. So that's always going to stay. It's always going to remain really strong. But I think a lot of children and families over the last year or so have really benefited and enjoyed being able to board a few nights a week or weekly. And that's been really popular. I know you have, Olivia. So that's really good. I think we're just working hard to make the boarding really appealing, which it is. So the dorms now look lovely. They're very, very cosy. We've done lots of decorating and cozying and making the whole boarding house look lovely and feel lovely. I think the Dunhams, Mr. and Mrs. Dunham, are doing a brilliant job at making the boarding really fun and exciting. There's a lovely atmosphere up there on the boarding floor in the evenings. The weekends are really fun. There's a really exciting programme of weekend events going on. So, for example, last weekend, I know you were in, Oscar, for the roller disco. I can't remember if you were in, Olivia, were you?
No, not
But there was a roller disco on Saturday, which was very, very popular. And what I've really loved is seeing lots of people who don't normally board coming in for the weekend because they want to. So it tends to be children going home and saying to their parents, please can I board? I really want to board. It wasn't like that in my day. So I think the boarding's brilliant.
Actually, it's so good that even though we live here, as you know, our children board a lot of the time, don't they? Because actually they have so much fun up in dorms and the weekends, and they're with you guys more than they are with us. But no, it's fabulous. Really, really. And it's like a big family, isn't it?
Yeah.
All the older children look after the younger ones, and it's a really lovely atmosphere up there.
And the roller disco is so much harder than it looks.
Yeah, there were a
You'd
few
think-
sore bottoms.
You
weren't
think it's like ice skating, but on there you're so hard to move.
there?
I would have done it, Oscar, but sadly there were no roller skates in my size.
That's his story.
Yeah.
Is it true that you were a regional high jumper?
Yes, I used to, when I was younger, I used to do a lot of athletics, generally. A lot of sprinting and hurdles and high jump, and did a lot of high jump at school and a little bit after school. So I did that quite seriously. I actually tried to do a high jump competition against a year 8 boy last summer in sports day, and ended up pulling a muscle in my knee. I'm still not fully recovered. So I think no high jump for me for a while.
Do you know Mr. Besley still holds his prep school record? So no one's beaten him since prep school.
True, I hope no one does.
Yeah.
And what is your favourite song?
Can I cheat and have a favourite musical? I don't
Sure.
think I have a favourite song, but we as a family love Les Mis. We listen to that a lot and love the stories, find that quite inspiring. So I'd go Les
Yeah.
Mis.
And for our night of the musicals, the year 8 song is Do You Hear the People
Oh,
Sing?
excellent.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
Looking forward to
That
that.
would be great.
Good.
Oh, I can't wait. That's good.
Another song we used to live in Suffolk. You obviously, have you heard of Ed Sheeran?
Yeah.
Yes.
Ed Sheeran in Suffolk used to live very near to where we used to live, and he wrote a song called Castle on the Hill, which is about a castle we used to live near called Framlingham Castle, and so that's a bit of a family favourite as well, isn't it? Castle on the Hill. Yeah.
That's nice.
What's been your most embarrassing moment at Abberley Hall?
My most embarrassing moment. There've probably been lots actually, but I think one particularly standout moment for me was last term in the summer when, I don't know if you remember, you may have been playing, Oscar, we were playing parents against children cricket, a parents against children cricket match, and my son Archie was bowling. He had been bowling quite well, and I then came into bat, and I was out first ball. Bowled out by Archie, so that was a little bit embarrassing, and I got a bit of stick from that from the other parents.
In front of a lot of parents.
Yeah, so that was a bit embarrassing.
Everyone was there in their chairs with food, and everyone was watching the match.
Exactly.
Yeah, thanks.
And who would you invite to a dinner party, alive or dead?
I would definitely go Shakespeare. I'm a big Shakespeare fan. I'd love to talk to him about where he got his ideas from, his plays and that sort of thing.
And I've got a theory actually that Shakespeare wrote a play called Richard III and gave this king, Richard III, a really bad name. Portrayed this king to be a hunchback and a murderer of children and an awful person. And actually, I've got a theory that Richard III was actually quite a good bloke. So I'd quite like to meet Richard III. Actually, I'd quite like to have Richard III and Shakespeare together at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.